21st Platoon. Hard drop. Secure our landing zone.
Understood.
Over the target in 5.
Hang on to your helmet.
Alright grunts, welcome back to From ODST to Helldiver. In this video we are going to cover the Illuminate faction, and they are the most alien faction that we have. So the Terminids were very insect and bug-like, it's very Starship Troopers reminiscent. The automatons are very robotic and very Terminator aesthetically. But the Illuminate have a couple of different traits that make them generic alien monster thing. For one, they have the classic spherical flying ships. You know, the flat disc ships that can fly around and have beams of light that suck things. Well, I guess only deliver things, but assumably could also suck things back up into them. They also have the tripods from like War of the Worlds, so think things like that. And additionally, they are the only type of enemy that we have that allows access to zombies. So if you are looking to play some kind of mission where you're fighting hordes of zombies, the Illuminate is the faction you're going to want to go against. But all of that is going to be brought up here in a bit, where we're going to dive into each and every enemy. Now this is going to be a different video from the Terminids and Automatons, as every time that you increase the difficulty of a mission for those two factions, you get access to a whole lot of new enemies. Generally, each and every different difficulty will have at least 2 new enemies popping up, but the Illuminate are very different in that front, where instead of having several different enemies pop up on different difficulties, almost every single enemy type is available from the beginning. There are only 2 exceptions to that, and we will cover that in a bit, but for the most part, increasing the difficulty will either increase enemies' armor or damage or health, or will increase the number of enemies significantly. So just keep that all in mind. These are all going to pop up at the very beginning, except for 2, and I will make note of that later in the video. Alright, let's dive on into it. Alright, the first enemy type that we are going to cover is the Voteless. Now the Voteless come in 3 different types. They have the light version, the medium version, and the heavy version. The only real difference between the 3 is their health. The light version has 100 health, the medium variant has 130, and the heavy variant has 160 health. All 3 of them are capable of a swing attack for 25 damage. As you can imagine, that does not sound very threatening, but their strength is in numbers. They will attack you in hordes. Alright, the next up is the Flesh Mob, which is basically the tank version of the Voteless. It is an amalgamation of multiple zombies stuffed together to make a gigantic monstrosity. It is the Flesh Mob. It does not have any armor similar to the Voteless, but instead has an insane 6,000 hit points. It's going to take a lot to kill them, but you can get through that with some clever flames or gas attacks that damage over time, as well as if you take out their heads, which they have 8, that can also kill them as well, but you have to be very precise with your shots and find the heads, which can be in the front and back. They have two types of attacks. One of them is a charging attack. When charging, they cannot be stunned or staggered in any way, and it is a quite devastating attack and will send you reeling. Additionally, they have just a regular melee attack as well that is pretty damaging. Not quite as damaging as the charge, but more so than perhaps a Voteless's swing attack. Now, I haven't listed a number for these because everything I can find online is that these scale with the difficulty setting that you chose. So I'm imagining that on Trivial, maybe it's more comparable to a Voteless's melee attack. And on Super Helldive, it can one-shot you, which I personally have definitely been on the wrong side of. Next up, we have the Watcher, which is a tiny flying robot eyeball, basically. Their main objective is they fly around the map looking for you and your teammates. Once they find you, they will call in a flare to get more enemies to spawn. So it is recommended you try to either take them out stealthily or take them out very, very quickly before they get a chance to. They have 600 health and have light armor, so it is recommended that you have a medium pin weapon in order to overcome that light armor. Now, light armor penetrating weapons are just fine as well, but they do deal reduced damage to the Watchers. After they have called in reinforcements, if you're still dealing with them, they will begin harassing you with a lightning arc attack that does 30 damage. Now, this doesn't seem like too much. 30 is not 100 or anything like that, but it can be quite annoying, and the fire rate is okay. In general, they're just very annoying but easy to take out, but usually if you aren't too precise, they'll call in reinforcements before you can completely take them out. Next up is the Standard Overseer. Now this is a ground unit wielding a staff. The staff acts almost like a magical staff that can shoot projectiles, but also be used as a melee weapon. They have 600 health, and they are covered in light armor. However, their head has medium armor on it. Now, you can overcome this armor if you shoot them enough, and the armor reflects some bullet damage. Not back at you, but bullet damage is reduced significantly while they have armor on. Shooting enough, their armor will fall off, exposing their unarmored bits, so keep that in mind as well. Best case scenario for taking them out is to shoot them in the torso. Now, what are their attacks? Well, first off, they have a very devastating swing attack that does 75 damage, and they are quite quick with their attack, as well as being able to knock you down once they connect. In general, if they get the first swing and knock you down, they will land the second before you're done ragdolling and able to move. So avoid close combat against these guys at all cost is my recommendation. Now, what does the staff do as well? It fires a plasma projectile. Getting a direct hit with that will do 40 damage and will explode for 30 more damage in an area around it. These are relatively easy to avoid, but sometimes they catch you off guard and get a direct hit. Depending on how armored you are, that could be a one-shot. So be careful around these guys. Aim for the torso, again, is my recommendation, and they'll be pretty easy to defeat. The next enemy type that we have is the Elevated Overseer. This is very similar to the Overseer before. Has 600 hit points, is in light armor with medium armor encasing its helmet. The armor will fall off if you fire enough at it, and the underbits are unarmored. But unlike the regular Overseer, they fly around the map exclusively. They can track you pretty easily and harass you, so there's not really any running from them or hiding around corners. They will just pursue and annihilate you. They have a rifle that shoots multiple round bursts that do 35 damage each, and they are capable of throwing grenades that have 200 damage in an explosive radius. So be careful of these guys. They are one of the rather annoying enemies to have to fight, but they are pretty simple to take out if you focus on their torso. The next enemy type that we're going to cover is the Crescent Overseer. Now, this is one of those enemies that only pops up at certain difficulties, so you will only see the Crescent Overseers at medium difficulty or higher. They are very similar to the other Overseers. They have 600 health, wrapped in light armor. Their helmet has medium armor on it, and after firing enough, their armor will fall off, exposing their squishy, unarmored bits on the inside. But these guys differ from the other Overseers as they are basically mortar cannon firing monstrosities. They, in general, can hurl mortar rounds at you from extreme distances and find you even behind walls. The mortar does an absolute massive amount of damage. If you begin approaching them and get in line of sight, they switch from mortar to plasma cannon, and the plasma cannon does less damage than the mortar does, but has a better fire rate, and instead of arcing, has a more direct shot. This is kind of similar to the Overseer's plasma projectile, and if you are too close to them, they will melee you with their open extra hand that they've got, which does some amount of damage. I could not find the numbers for these online, but from my own experience, the melee damage is not as much as an Overseer, but is more than a Voteless. The plasma cannon is very comparable to the Overseer's plasma cannon, and the mortar is extremely dangerous and can absolutely one-shot you. Or if you're far enough away from the explosive but still caught in it, it can ragdoll you. So if you find yourself randomly ragdolling, it may be Crescent Overseers lurking around the corner somewhere. Take them out just like you would take out the other Overseers. Medium armor penetrating weapon. Chest shots is very, very good at taking these guys out. And the next enemy type that we have is the Harvester. Now these are those gigantic tripod monstrosities. They have 3,000 total hit points and are normally walking around without their shield on, but when they are alerted to you, they will summon a 1,500 hit point energy shield around them. They are covered in heavy armor, which is pretty annoying, but not the worst part about them. The absolute worst part about them is that they charge a giant laser, and the laser does 1,800 damage per second. So it basically instantly vaporizes you. Your best hope is to avoid the laser at all costs, hide around buildings, hide behind walls. try to juke it if you can, but it is devastating. Additionally, wherever the laser fires, it leaves a fire trail, and that can do 50 damage per second for 3 seconds. So don't touch the fiery remains of wherever the laser fires as well. Don't run past where it's lasered. You will catch on fire and likely die from it, unless you've got that fire-resistant armor. And if you get too close to the harvester, it does have the ability to shoot an electrical discharge from its little eyeball, which can do 60 damage to you. So it does have close range capabilities as well, although it doesn't have necessarily a stomp attack. Now, the key to success against the harvester is that the energy shield can be taken down by just about any type of weapon, including light penetrating primary weapons. Those can lower the shield, and once the shield is down, just about any anti-tank weapon can take it out if you aim for the joints between the legs and the main body. Now, you might be tempted to think that the eyeball is a weak spot for the harvester, similar to how many of the automatons had glowing eyeball weak spots. This is not the case. The harvester's eyeball is actually the toughest part about it. So if you aim for the eyeball, you're actually making it much harder on yourself. Now, moving along, we are going to cover the flying aspect of the Illuminate. And the first up is the warp ship, which comes in 2 variants. The first variant is the mission objective ones that you can find on the ground. They are landed. They have 5,000 health, and they have a shield around them of 2,500 health. And they will continuously spawn mobs of enemies. So think of them as a bug nest or a factory for the automatons. That is essentially what the warp ship is, and you'll want to kill them quickly. Now, most red stratagems can take them out, especially if you land them directly on them. But there's a much simpler way to destroy them. If you drain the shield by just about any means, even with a primary weapon, and their shield is down, they have stairs leading up into a bright white light, and if you throw a grenade of almost any kind in there, except maybe smoke, it will completely blow the warp ships up. That means fire a round of ammo, throw 1 grenade, and the warp ships are defeated. Pretty good. Now, the second type of warp ship is the one that actually flies around the map, and it is a bit different from a regular warp ship. It has 3,500 health instead of 5,000. It does have the 2,500 health shield, but the armor wrapped around it is actually tank armor, tank grade armor. Now, these will come in only when there's a flare called in for them, which can be done from the Watcher, and maybe even Overseers can do so as well. But they will come in for reinforcements or waves of enemies to drop off tons of Voteless and Watchers and Overseers. So you might want to take them out before they can do that. Even if you take them out after they drop off enemies, oftentimes they will crash land on top of the enemies they spawn in and kill them anyways. But the best ways to take them out is, I think the spear's pretty effective, although it usually takes 2 shots to take a warp ship out. But the autocannon is decent enough at this, though I think it does take an entire clip to drop them. so you will have to be pretty accurate. And additionally, the anti-tank emplacement is phenomenal at taking out flying warp ships. I think it only takes 2 or 3 shots, and that thing has a decent enough fire rate that it's not a problem at all to take them out. So if you get the anti-tank emplacement, that is your best bet for taking out warp ships. Alright, next enemy type that shows up is the Stingray, which is my, I think, least favorite thing to fight in the entire game. It is a fast-moving flying vehicle that is the equivalent of perhaps our Eagle stratagem, the little eagle that fires off its little stratagems. It flies in and does strafing runs and whatnot. Well, this is the Illuminate's strafing run airship. It has only 800 hit points, which is actually a lot, but it is only a little bit more than an Overseer, and it only has medium armor. Now, what makes this so annoying is that it flies around the map pretty quickly, and then when it targets you, it will slow quite a bit, but immediately begin firing in a straight line. It will mark that for you with a light blue color everywhere that it's going to shoot. However, I have noticed in practice, if the elevation of the location it is targeting you has different sections, so if you're on the side of a cliff perhaps or something like that, it will mark only one of those and not both, either the top of the cliff or the bottom, and then good luck knowing where it's going to shoot. You have to really be paying attention. And I also could not find the damage numbers for the Stingray, but from experience, it generally one-shots just about anyone except someone wearing heavy armor. This is a nasty, nasty thing, but it can be taken out with even primary weapons if fired correctly at it. The problem, again, is its speed, and by the time it is stationary enough to shoot at, it's already shooting you and can kill you in one shot. So you'll find yourself diving out of the way most of the time, not really able to fight this thing, which is why the spear is maybe one of my favorite support weapons. It will just lock onto this thing, you fire, and then you don't even think about it, and it will die in its own time. Spear is king. I love the spear. I will defend the spear until the end of my days. And I hate this freaking Stingray. Traumatizing. I kind of wish they'd remove it. But that might just be me. Alright, the next one up is the Leviathan. Now the Leviathan is essentially, from aesthetics at least, looks exactly like those giant flying tanky behemoths from the first Avengers movie that invaded New York. They have 15,000 health and have tank armor. And they have a cannon that they fire multiple shots simultaneously. They have multiple cannons that do 350 damage, which means 100% they can one-shot you. And they like to fire that thing several times in quick succession. And they are so far away on the map, they're flying so far up in the air, that a lot of weapons don't have that range. You can get them with things like the recoilless rifle, or expendable anti-tank can fire at them. Laser weapons can fire at them, but having tank levels of armor, laser weapons don't do too much. The best way to take them out, again, is the anti-tank emplacement. The spear does a decent enough job tracking them as well, but the anti-tank emplacement just feels really good against the Leviathans. They're relatively slow moving, and the key to success against them is that if you look at it closely enough, they're broken up into different chunks. They'll have like the head and then the fins and whatnot in the back. If you take out one particular section and focus fire on it, it will kill it much faster than if you spread your shots out everywhere. And I don't recommend shooting at the head. Instead, look for the, I guess, spine region or fins. That is the best way to take those things out. And additionally, one saving grace about the Leviathans is it's that other enemy that only shows up on hard difficulty and higher. And additionally, it specifically only shows up on missions that have the mission modifier of Leviathan Blockade. So if you are observant on the mission map, you can pull up the effects and see what kind of effects are being done in mission. And if one of those says Leviathan Blockade, you know you're going to have to deal with these things. Now, the fact that they are so far up in the air means that if any point you are not in a city where there's lots of buildings and things to block their line of sight, you will be constantly harassed by these things, and they will ragdoll you or just kill you if you stop moving. They're very, very bad for trying to take a breather, and they will encircle your location, and oftentimes there will be more than one in a map. I one time was on a mission where there were 4 of them circling around from all 4 directions, and I gotta tell you, that was maybe the worst experience I've had in a game. A poor, unfortunate other soul hopped in mid-mission, and he was not having a good time with me. So, Leviathans are very tough. They only show up on hard missions or higher, and only on missions that have the Leviathan Blockade enabled as a modifier. They're very, 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 very tanky, very tough, and have maybe the second most health in the game. So our next and final enemy for the Illuminate is the Illuminate Overship. This thing has
Where will you strike, Helldiver?
the most health in the game of all enemy types, I think. I'll have to double check some numbers, but I'm pretty sure it does. And it has 18,001 hit points. That extra one is crucial. And it is wrapped in tank armor. Heavy tank armor. And additionally, on top of that, it is wrapped in a 10,000 health shield. So combined, 28,001 health. And it is way, way far off in the distance. And it actually doesn't have any weapons to attack you with. So what is the point of this thing? Well, it is a mission objective. So very similar to how several other missions in the past have been go find and kill a Bile Titan, or go and kill a Devastator. Those kind of mission types where you're hunting something down. Well, this Illuminate Overship has an entire mission dedicated just to it. You have to go find launch codes, you have to go enable a power grid, activate a terminal, pull up a giant planetary defense cannon, and then you have to vertically aim it and horizontally aim the cannon to point at the Illuminate Overship in the distance, and then fire enough rounds to actually take it out. Now the planetary defense cannon can deal 8,400 damage on impact and 1,000 damage with an explosive, which is pretty good. That's 9,400 damage. And against 28,000 hit points, you can imagine it will kill that thing in maybe 3 or 4 shots. And in practice, I think it is 4 shots to kill it, and maybe even 5. I think by the time you are able to fire another shot, the shield begins to recharge but doesn't fully get there, so you do get a bit of an annoying situation on that front. But there is a weakness to the Illuminate overship, and that is all of the little eyeballs or ventilation ports. If you can lower the shield and fire the planetary defense cannon directly into one of those vents, you can one-shot the Illuminate overship. Additionally, it does exist on the map, so you can just fire your weapons at it. Now, this isn't super recommended because it has a 10,000 health shield, followed by an 18,000 heavily armored body with tank levels of armor, so you're not likely to actually finish it off with support weapons or ordnances or emplacements or anything like that. But in addition, it does have another defense mechanism. Every time it begins to take damage, it will spawn a bunch of warp ships that will begin closing in on your location and dropping off hordes of the Illuminate. So keep that in mind as well. You really want to focus on the mission, get the planetary defense cannon, and then fire all hands on that thing. If you're in a squad of 4, you can have everyone fire at it to lower its shield and keep that shield down, while the planetary defense cannon gets shot at it to obliterate it completely. A little bit of teamwork on that front, but yeah, that is the last enemy for the Illuminate. Hopefully you guys found this information pretty helpful. I am sorry that I couldn't find more as far as numbers are concerned for some of these enemies. I think that's just because a lot of these were recently introduced, and a lot of the online resources haven't completely found all the info yet. But still, I think this was pretty good information for you guys to have. Hopefully you've figured out some tactics to deal with these enemy types now, and you're a little bit more prepared for when this game drops tomorrow, if you're watching this the day it releases. Alright guys, that is exciting. We have some Xbox reinforcements on their way and ready to go all in against the Illuminate. Good luck out there, guys, and hopefully I will see you in mission fighting alongside me pretty soon. I'll see you out there, guys. Good luck. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of From ODST to Helldiver. If you found any of the information in this video useful, please go ahead and leave a like. And if you have any questions about anything, you want some clarification, or maybe you want to sync up in-game, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and maybe I can add you. We can get a couple of games together. And if you want to see a couple of more videos like this, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? That would really, really be appreciated. And hopefully this video gets you guys a little bit more prepared for when this inevitably drops on the Xbox. I hope everybody watching sees so many similarities between the Helldivers and the ODSTs. They're pretty much doing all of the same things. And I do find this game is, without a doubt, one of the greatest Halo games in the last 10 years. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.